Hi everybody, Lisa here from Cool Kids Hub. Today I'd like to talk about naps and specifically short naps, why they happen and what are some of the tips you can do to resolve them. Now first of all, I think short naps are a frustration of parents all over the world. I mean, after all, naps are supposed to be when your baby sleeps, right, or your young child sleeps, and you get to catch up on all the things you don't normally get to do, like sleep, or clean, or shower, or just, you know what, put your feet up with a cup of tea or coffee and read a book for a few minutes. And the challenge is we all of a sudden have this baby that just wants to take these short little naps. So you spend all this time trying to get them to sleep. Eventually they get to sleep, and lo and behold, they nap for like 20 or 30 minutes. Now they're awake, you try to get them back to sleep, and it's not working. So eventually you get them up and you kind of carry on with your day. But all that happens is your baby is becoming crankier and crankier, which is just making the day even worse than it was when they only took this short little nap. So I really want to talk about, first of all, why short naps happen and are they common? And the answer is yes, they are. They are exceptionally common, especially in the first few months. Now, there are babies that carry on catnapping longer than the first 4 months, but typically catnaps in the first 4 to 5 months are very common. And the reason being is at this age, babies have a very short sleep cycle. So a baby's sleep cycle is only between sort of 40 and 50 minutes. And what happens is when they first go to sleep, the sleep cycle has two stages. So it has an active stage and a quiet stage. When the baby first goes to sleep, they're actually going to sleep in that active stage. And this is when, if your baby's going to wake up in the middle of a sleep cycle, this is when it's likely to happen. And that's why a lot of babies and parents complain about their babies only sleeping for like 20 or 25 minutes. Now, once they've gone through that active sleep stage, they then go into the quiet sleep stage. And that now, typically, if they did the two sleep stages, would be a nap of between 40 and 50 minutes. Once your baby learns to link their sleep cycles, which happens around the 4-month mark, and this is when you'll hear a lot of parents talk about that dreaded 4-month sleep regression, is because then at that age, the baby's sleep cycle is maturing and it's starting to mimic more of an adult sleep cycle. And an adult sleep cycle is 90 minutes to 100 minutes. So at around that 4-month mark, once the baby's sleep cycle starts to mature and your baby learns to link their sleep cycles, that is when you will start getting sleep of, beyond that 50 minutes. So an hour and a half and 2 hours because they are linking two sleep cycles. Now, one of the things that's obviously a real challenge for parents that have these short catnappers is often parents will go, well, my baby just fights sleep and they don't need sleep, or they take very short naps, so they obviously don't need it. But unfortunately, nothing is further from the truth. The reality is the baby does need the sleep, and catnapping, like I said, is common, but it's important to make sure that we're putting them down regularly for naps. Keeping them up and thinking, well, they didn't go to sleep, I'll just keep them up and put them down for bed, that really works because they're just getting more and more tired as the day goes on. So I'm going to give you now some tips on things that you can do to help your baby to nap longer. But I do want to say that naps generally do sort themselves out as your baby gets older. But there are some things, and those are the tips I'm going to share now, that you can do to kind of help your little one sleep a little bit longer. So the first thing is having a good sleep schedule. Now, I will include in the description below this video links to sleep schedules by age from basically newborn up to 12 weeks, which you can download to have a look what should a sleep schedule look like by age for your baby or young child. But it's really important to try and keep to a sleep schedule. This way that makes sure, which is tip number 2, that you're keeping to your awake windows and that the baby's also getting enough naps. So have that sleep schedule That way you'll be making sure they go down for enough naps, and also that they're having the correct awake windows, because it's when babies get overtired, then they also struggle to link their sleep cycles more, because they're more tired, a little bit more wound up, and they can't easily transition from one sleep cycle to the next. So tip number 3 is ditch the sleep props. If right now your baby needs you to rock them to sleep, sing them to sleep, drive around in the car to get them to sleep, feed them to sleep, then you've become their sleep prop. Maybe they use a pacifier. The challenge is when there's a sleep prop involved, whenever they wake up, they're looking for this exact prop to get them back to sleep, because it's the only way your baby knows how to go to sleep. So if you currently do use sleep props, my recommendation would be to ditch them and start to teach your baby how to fall asleep independently. Now that means that you start putting them down to sleep while they're drowsy but still awake, and let them figure out on their own how to get back to sleep. That also means when they wake up in the middle of a sleep cycle or between sleep cycles, then they are able to get themselves back to sleep. Now, if you are thinking of sleep training your little one, I'll also put a link in the description below to a review of a sleep training program that I use with my little one that you can have a look at. Tip number 4 is try and keep noise to a minimum. Now, it's the middle of the day, and a lot of parents have, you've got other children, so it's impossible to keep the house completely quiet. But try and just keep the noise to a minimum, because let's face it, none of us can go to sleep when there's a whole lot of noise going on. So the quieter you can keep it, the better. Tip number 5 is fill up with calories. Now, this is not a very common cause of short naps, but if you suspect your little one is waking up and they're hungry when they wake up, maybe try adjusting their schedule. Now, normally the best kind of schedule is get them up, eat, play, and then sleep. But if you are suspecting maybe your little one is waking up hungry, you could try changing that around. Get them up, actually play, then feed them before you put them to sleep. That way you know that they've had more than sufficient calories to get them through their nap or their sleep. The only caution I would have with that is don't let your baby fall asleep while you're feeding, because again, that's just becoming a sleep prop, which is why the recommendation is rather get them up, eat, play, and then sleep. However, like I said, if you do suspect your little one's waking up hungry, start to get them up and play a little bit, then feed them, and then put them down for a sleep. So tip number 6 is try and put your baby down to sleep in the same place for every nap and obviously bedtime. Now again, if you've got other children, this is not always possible because you're on the go and you're in and out with your other children, but where possible, put them down to sleep in the same place, because this is what creates that, it sends those signals to your baby that this is time for sleep, and they're always in the same place, so they start to know when I'm here, this is when I should be sleeping. Tip 7 is to have a nap time routine. So just like a bedtime routine, have a shortened version of that for nap time. Again, this is all about sending signals to your baby that now is the time to sleep. So a typical bedtime would be something like a bath, a gentle baby massage, a feed, some books or a lullaby, and then bed. So you could do a shortened version of that where you do a feed, you do books and a lullaby, and then you put them down for a nap. So they kind of know when that starts to happen that now is the time for sleep. Then tip number 8 is keep them active when they are awake to make sure that they're using up their energy, so they're not completely still energized when it's time to nap. This is the time to play with them, being conscious of your awake window, so not keeping them awake too long, but really making sure that you, when they're awake, play with them. Do the tummy time if that's age appropriate. Go outside for a walk. Just making sure they're staying active in that awake time. Tip number 9 is to conquer the nights first. Typically, like I said, nap times do sort themselves out, but they do come later than night sleep. So the first thing, if you're having a baby that's not, and the baby is 6 months or older and still not sleeping through the night, fix that first and get your baby sleeping through the night by other things that I've talked about, like ditching the sleep props, keep having a bedtime routine, having a good schedule, and get them sleeping at night well first, because then you'll find daytimes come a lot easier. And the final tip is try and keep the environment as dark as possible. Again, you're never going to get complete darkness, although of course you can buy blackout curtains, and there are lots of portable ones that are really great for blocking out some of that additional light. But just try and keep the room or the sleeping area as dark as possible. So hopefully these tips help. Like I said, you're not alone. Short naps are very common, although frustrating. I know all you want is this baby to sleep so you can just get on and get some things done, and then when they sleep for 30 minutes it's like so I get it, but they will start to sleep longer with time. So try some of the tips that I've suggested. It definitely does help, and like I said, I'll put links down in the description below to the sleep schedules and the awake times, as well as a review of the sleep training program that I used. Good luck with your naps. Till next time. Bye.